Imagine a land of golden deserts, snow-topped mountains, and busy bazaars filled with the smell of saffron and fresh bread. This is Iran in the 1960s and 70s, a country both ancient and ambitious, ruled by one man, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. The Shah wears a crown that shines like the sun. To many in the West, he's a symbol of progress. Modern roads, tall buildings, fancy cars, and fashion shows in Tehran. Iran is booming with oil money, and the Shah dreams of turning it into one of the world's top powers. He calls it the White Revolution, a grand plan to modernize the country. Land reforms, education for all, women getting the right to vote. On paper, it sounds bright and bold. But as the camera moves closer, we begin to see the cracks behind the crown. For the rich elite, life is a party. European clothes, cinemas, and imported perfumes. But in the villages and small towns, people still live with hardship, their voices lost in the noise of change. Farmers lose their lands during reforms. Small shopkeepers struggle as big businesses take over. The Shah's dream of modernization is creating a gap, a huge gap, between the shiny city and the silent countryside. And then there's fear. Behind every poster of the smiling Shah stands his secret police, Savak. They watch, they listen, they arrest. Even a simple complaint at a tea house could bring trouble. People begin to whisper less and worry more. Still, the Shah keeps moving fast. He wants Iran to be a modern, Western-style country, but he forgets one thing. His people's hearts still belong to their traditions, their faith, and their sense of justice. As the 1970s move forward, oil money floods Iran. The cities glow brighter, and foreign companies pour in. But the ordinary Iranian, the teacher, the shopkeeper, the farmer, doesn't feel the glow. Prices rise, jobs shrink, and corruption spreads. In mosques and homes, quiet voices begin to rise. People speak of morality, of faith, and of a missing connection between ruler and ruled. At the center of these whispers stands a name that will soon echo across the world: Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. Khomeini is not in Iran anymore. He was sent into exile years earlier after criticizing the Shah. But from exile, first in Iraq, later in France, his words still reach Iran through cassette tapes, smuggled letters, and secret gatherings. He talks about injustice, greed, and the dangers of copying the West. He speaks of Islam not just as a religion, but as a way of governance, a voice for the poor, the humble, and the silenced. Meanwhile, the Shah grows isolated. He builds palaces, holds grand celebrations like the 2,500-year anniversary of the Persian Empire, spending millions while poverty grows around him. He invites kings, queens, and presidents to dine in gold tents while workers struggle to buy bread. Something feels wrong. Iran looks modern, but it doesn't feel united. The people are restless. The mosques are full. The silence before the storm grows thicker. And as the sun sets on the Shah's empire, one can almost sense the wind shifting, carrying a whisper that says, change is coming. The year is 1977. Iran is still shining on the surface. Tall buildings rise, new highways stretch across deserts, and Western songs fill hotel lobbies in Tehran. But beneath the surface, the air is tense, heavy, and waiting. In homes and mosques, people start speaking about the Ayatollah again, the man in exile, Ruhollah Khomeini. His voice, carried on small cassette tapes, travels from city to city, passed from hand to hand, heart to heart. In one corner, a student plays a tape for his friends, listening in silence. In another, a shopkeeper lowers the shutters and plays it softly for a small crowd. The words are firm but simple. The Shah's rule is unjust. Islam calls for truth. Stand for your rights. People who once stayed quiet begin to feel brave. A mother tells her son, "Don't talk politics." The son replies, "But everyone's talking now." Meanwhile, the Shah's government grows more paranoid. His secret police, Savak, spy on students, workers, and even priests. Fear spreads, but so does courage. Every arrest makes more people angry. Every silenced voice echoes louder. Then, in early 1978, something sparks. A government newspaper publishes a nasty article insulting Khomeini, calling him a British spy. The people of Qom, a holy city, are furious. Students march in protest, peaceful, holding up pictures of Khomeini. But police open fire. Blood stains the streets. Many are killed. And that was the spark. Across Iran, funerals turn into protests. Every 40 days, people gather to honor the dead, and each time, new ones are killed. The cycle continues. Qom, Tabriz, Isfahan, Tehran. The protests grow larger, louder, and more determined. The whisper has become a voice, and that voice says, "We want justice." By mid-1978, Iran is no longer calm. Factories stop working as workers go on strike. Oil production, the lifeblood of the Shah's wealth, slows down. Even government employees begin to walk out in protest. The cities are filled with chanting crowds. Men, women, and even children hold banners saying, "Allahu Akbar, God is great." The sound of unity fills the air. For the first time, the Shah seems unsure. He's been powerful for so long, the friend of America, the symbol of modernization, but now the ground beneath him is shaking. He tries many things. First, he blames foreign enemies. Then, he offers reforms. Then, he brings in the army to crush protests. But nothing works. The more he pushes, the more people resist. The more blood is shed, the angrier the nation becomes. Meanwhile, Ayatollah Khomeini, watching all this from exile in France, speaks to the world. Reporters come to see him. His words are calm but firm. "We do not want violence. We want freedom from tyranny." His image spreads like wildfire, not through social media, not through television, but through pure human connection, through posters, tapes, and whispers. People begin to see him not just as a religious scholar, but as a leader of hope. The Shah grows weaker, his health fails, and his confidence fades. In October 1978, thousands march in Tehran, shouting in unison. The old, powerful empire feels fragile. The soldiers hesitate to shoot, and the people, after years of fear, feel unstoppable. By the end of 1978, Iran is no longer divided by class or wealth. The rich, the poor, the students, the workers, they all want change. Something powerful and irreversible has begun. As winter approaches, the chants rise louder in the cold streets. Marg bar Shah, death to the Shah. The revolution is no longer a dream. It's real, and it's moving fast. It's late 1978, and the air in Iran is electric. Everywhere, from the dusty alleys of Qom to the crowded streets of Tehran, people are talking about one thing: change. The Shah, who once seemed untouchable, now feels like a shadow of his old self. His voice on the radio trembles. His eyes, once proud, now look tired. The world is watching. Western nations still support him, calling him a friend of progress. But on the ground, millions of Iranians see something else: a ruler disconnected from his people. In September 1978, the protests reach a boiling point. Tehran's Jaleh Square fills with thousands of demonstrators, men, women, children, clerics, students, all holding signs calling for freedom and chanting Allahu Akbar. The government declares martial law. Soldiers line the square. Then, a gunshot. No one knows who fires first, but soon chaos erupts. Machine guns crack through the air. People scream, run, fall. By the end of the day, hundreds are dead. It becomes known as Black Friday, a day that stains the Shah's rule forever. The image of soldiers shooting their own people burns into the nation's heart. There's no going back now. Funerals turn into protests. Protests turn into strikes. Oil workers, teachers, even bank employees join the movement. Iran's economy freezes, but its spirit burns brighter than ever. The Shah tries to calm the storm. He promises reforms, freedom of speech, and a new beginning. But it's too late. No one believes him anymore. Meanwhile, in a small village outside Paris, an old cleric watches the news. It's Ayatollah Khomeini, sitting on a simple wooden chair, surrounded by journalists from all over the world. His voice is steady. The Shah must go. The people will decide their future. Every sentence he speaks is recorded, translated, and smuggled back to Iran. It plays from rooftops and cassette players in secret rooms. For millions, he becomes the voice of courage, the symbol of a revolution that can no longer be stopped. As winter of 1978 arrives, Tehran is almost paralyzed. Daily life has turned into a constant protest. Shops are closed, offices empty, and streets echo with chants and prayers. Every night, people climb onto rooftops and shout Allahu Akbar into the cold night, their voices joining in waves across the city. It's not just a protest anymore. It's a spiritual uprising. Inside his palace, the Shah feels trapped. His health is worsening, and his advisors are divided. Some urge him to crush the movement with force. Others beg him to leave and avoid civil war. He looks out from his balcony at the smoke rising from the city and whispers to his wife, "They don't love me anymore." On January 16, 1979, the news breaks. The Shah and his family are leaving Iran, officially for a vacation, but everyone knows what it really means. After 37 years on the throne, the Shah is gone. As his plane takes off, some weep, others cheer. For many Iranians, it feels like the end of an era. For others, it's just the beginning. In the days that follow, chaos and celebration mix in the streets. People dance, cry, pray, and hug strangers. Posters of Khomeini cover walls and shop windows. The old royal statues are pulled down, one by one. Then, on February 1st, 1979, something unforgettable happens. A plane lands at Tehran's Mehrabad airport. After 15 years in exile, Ayatollah Khomeini steps off. Millions wait for him, literally millions, flooding the streets like a human ocean. Old men climb rooftops just to glimpse his car. Women throw flowers from balconies. The sound of joy and faith fills the air. Khomeini's car moves slowly through the crowd, people reaching to touch it, crying, chanting his name. It takes hours to travel a few kilometers. This is not just a homecoming. It's the moment Iran changes forever. Within days, the government collapses. The Shah's prime minister flees. The army declares neutrality. And Khomeini, calm and firm, announces, "I appoint the government of the people. The monarchy is dead." Just like that, thousands of years of royal rule end, and the Islamic Revolution is born. The spark has turned into a flame, and that flame will now shape the destiny of not only Iran, but the entire Middle East. It is February 1979. A cold morning sun shines over Tehran as millions gather in the streets. From rooftops, people wave flags. From balconies, families weep with joy. They're waiting for a man they've only known through whispers, photos, and cassette tapes. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. After 15 long years in exile, he has finally come home. His plane touches down at Mehrabad Airport, greeted by a sea of people stretching as far as the eye can see. The roads are blocked, the crowd unstoppable. More than 3 million Iranians have come to see him. As Khomeini steps out, calm and composed, reporters rush to ask, "Your Eminence, how do you feel returning to your country?" He simply replies, "Nothing." Not pride, not revenge, just calm certainty. He knows history is already in motion. The car that carries him to Behesht-e-Zahra Cemetery moves slowly through the human ocean. People cry, laugh, pray, and shout, "Khomeini Rahbar," Khomeini, our leader. It takes over 8 hours for him to reach his destination. At the cemetery, standing among graves of those killed during the revolution, he addresses the crowd through a crackling microphone. "I will appoint the government. I will strike this government of betrayal. I will support the poor, and this time the people will rule." The words send waves through the crowd. It's no longer a protest, it's a new era beginning before their eyes. But not everyone knows what that will mean. Some imagine a peaceful democracy. Others dream of an Islamic state guided by faith. And some, especially those loyal to the Shah, fear what comes next. The old government, still clinging to power, watches helplessly. Prime Minister Shapur Bakhtir, appointed by the Shah before leaving, tries to hold on. He says, "We can have both, Islam and monarchy." But the people no longer believe in half measures. They want something pure, something theirs. In the following days, tension rises like a tide. The army is confused. Some generals want to fight, others hesitate. Then soldiers begin to defect. Many refuse to fire at their own people. Finally, on February 11th, 1979, it happens. Revolutionaries take over the army bases, prisons, and state buildings. Tanks roll through the streets, but this time not to crush, but to celebrate. Radio Tehran announces, "This is the voice of the Islamic Revolution of Iran." The monarchy is gone. The Shah's empire, one of the oldest royal dynasties in the world, has fallen. And in its place, something completely new is being born. The streets of Tehran are filled with celebration. Children wave flags, soldiers dance with civilians, and families light candles in windows. But under the fireworks and joy, a question begins to form. What now? Khomeini sets up a revolutionary council, a group of clerics and trusted allies to guide the transition. They move fast. Prisons are opened, royal symbols are erased, and revolutionary committees, called comites, appear in every neighborhood to keep order. But soon, the excitement turns into confusion. Some committees act fairly, others don't. Old scores are settled. Those close to the Shah are arrested, and some executed. It's as if the nation, freed after decades of fear, doesn't quite know what to do with its freedom. In March 1979, the people are asked to vote. A simple question appears on the ballot. Do you want an Islamic Republic? There are only 2 options, yes or no. Nearly everyone votes yes. Khomeini stands before the nation and declares victory. He says, "The Islamic Republic of Iran has been born." It feels like destiny, but destiny, as history shows, is complicated. New rules begin to shape daily life. Women are told to wear the hijab. Music on radio and television changes. Western movies disappear. Banks are told to follow Islamic law, and in schools, religion becomes a central subject. For some, this is the justice they longed for, a return to faith, identity, and pride. For others, especially intellectuals and women who enjoyed the freedoms of the Shah's era, it feels restrictive and unfamiliar. Iran is no longer just modern, it's something else now, revolutionary. Meanwhile, in the West, confusion reigns. America, once the Shah's closest ally, loses its stronghold in the region overnight. The balance of power in the Middle East has shifted. Other countries, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, even Egypt, watch with both awe and fear. If a king could fall this easily, could others too? In the midst of celebration and uncertainty, one truth becomes clear. Iran has rewritten its story. The age of kings has ended. The age of the people, led by faith and fury, has begun. The revolution is complete, but its consequences are only beginning. It is 1979, and Iran stands at a crossroads. The revolution has ended one chapter, the Age of Kings, and opened another, the Age of the Islamic Republic. Ayatollah Khomeini, now called the Supreme Leader, moves into a modest house in South Tehran. No palace, no luxury, just simple furniture, a small desk, and walls lined with books. To millions, he is not a politician. He is a symbol of justice, faith, and independence. But building a new system is never simple. The air is full of energy, ideas, and arguments. Some want a democracy with Islamic values. Others want full religious control. And many, after decades of dictatorship, just want peace and bread. The Revolutionary Council begins drafting a new constitution. It includes elections, but also something unique: the concept of velayet-i-faqih, or guardianship of the Islamic jurist. This means that the country will have elected officials, yes, but the highest authority will be a religious leader who ensures that all laws stay true to Islam. That leader, of course, is Khomeini. In December 1979, the new constitution is approved by another nationwide vote. Once again, the majority says yes. The Islamic Republic of Iran is now official, with Khomeini as its heart and guide. But revolutions don't rest easily. While new leaders try to form a government, others fight for influence. Liberal politicians who helped topple the Shah soon clash with clerics. Leftists, nationalists, and students all want their voices heard. The unity that overthrew the Shah now begins to splinter. In the background, a new rhythm emerges, one of discipline and control. Revolutionary guards, known as the Pasdaran, are formed to defend the revolution from enemies both foreign and domestic. Their loyalty is not to any political party, but to the idea of the Islamic Republic itself. The revolution, just a year old, begins to protect itself, sometimes harshly. Newspapers are censored, critics are silenced, and the people who once shouted freedom now whisper carefully again. Still, hope remains. For many, this is a time of pride, a time when Iran finally stands independent, free from foreign kings and oil companies. A time when ordinary citizens believe they are writing their own destiny. But beyond Iran's borders, the world is not celebrating. Something else is brewing. Something that will soon change how the world sees this new republic forever. In November 1979, only months after the new government forms, a dramatic event shocks the world. A group of Iranian students, calling themselves followers of the Imam's line, storm the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. They say they're protesting because America allowed the Shah, the man they overthrew, to enter the U.S. for medical treatment. But soon, it becomes more than a protest. The students take 52 American diplomats hostage. Days pass, then weeks, then months. The world watches in disbelief. The United States, once Iran's strongest ally, now becomes its greatest enemy. The embassy compound becomes a fortress of tension. American hostages inside, chanting crowds outside shouting, "Death to America." What started as anger over one man turns into a symbol of independence from Western power. For Khomeini, the event becomes a defining moment. He calls the embassy a den of spies and supports the students' cause. Across Iran, millions rally behind the revolution's message: we will never bow to the West again. But the price is high. America freezes Iran's assets, cuts diplomatic ties, and imposes sanctions. Other nations watch with caution, unsure whether to admire or fear this new republic that defies the world's superpower so boldly. Inside Iran, life changes quickly. Western music disappears. American goods vanish. Religious slogans replace advertisements, and the black chador becomes a common sight in Tehran's markets. The early years of the revolution feel like both birth and chaos. For every person who feels proud, another feels uncertain. For every dream of justice, there's a story of loss, a business closed, a friend gone, a freedom restricted. And just as Iran begins to find its rhythm, another storm appears on the horizon. A neighbor, ambitious, restless, and dangerous, looks across the border and sees a chance. That neighbor is Iraq. Its leader, Saddam Hussein, sees Iran's chaos as weakness. And soon, the two nations, once trading partners, will be locked in one of the longest and bloodiest wars of the 20th century. The revolution, still young, is about to be tested by fire. The year was 1979. The world had just witnessed something unbelievable. In a land known for its kings, palaces, and oil wealth, a revolution had swept away a powerful monarch and replaced him with a government led by religious leaders. The Iranian Revolution wasn't just Iran's story anymore. It had sent ripples across the entire Middle East and even beyond. For decades, Western powers had thought of the region as stable, ruled by strong men and supported by oil. But now, one country had said no more. They had proven that even the most powerful ruler could fall if his people stood united. Iran became the first modern nation to declare itself an Islamic Republic, a country led not by kings or generals, but by faith and the voice of the clergy. For many Muslims around the world, this was deeply inspiring. They saw ordinary people rise up, defy tanks and armies, and claim victory in the name of religion and justice. In the streets of Cairo, Beirut, and Karachi, young men and women began to wonder, could we do the same? But to others, especially in the West, the revolution felt like a shockwave. The once reliable Shah was gone, and in his place stood a new kind of leadership, one that did not bow to Western interests. Then came one of the most dramatic moments in modern politics, the U.S. Embassy hostage crisis. In late 1979, Iranian students stormed the American embassy in Tehran, taking dozens of diplomats hostage. They said it was revenge for years of U.S. interference in Iran's affairs. The crisis lasted 444 days. Every night, people around the world watched the news, waiting, worrying, and wondering what was happening inside this mysterious new Iran. It wasn't just about politics anymore. It was about identity. For the first time in centuries, a Muslim-majority nation had stood up and said, "We will not be ruled by foreign powers. We will define our own path." That message echoed far and wide. From Turkey to Pakistan, from Lebanon to Saudi Arabia, leaders, activists, and ordinary citizens began to look at their own governments differently. The revolution had changed the conversation. It made the world realize that religion and politics in the Middle East were not separate stories. They were one. But change always comes with a price. The new Iran soon found itself surrounded by enemies. Some feared the revolution might spread, others simply wanted revenge. In 1980, Iraq's leader, Saddam Hussein, saw an opportunity. He believed Iran was weak and divided after the revolution. So he attacked. And thus began one of the longest and bloodiest wars of the century, the Iran-Iraq War. For 8 long years, both nations suffered deeply. Cities were bombed, families were torn apart, and a whole generation grew up under the shadow of war. Yet even in pain, the revolution survived. The new Islamic Republic proved it could endure both foreign threats and internal struggles. And through it all, Ayatollah Khomeini's words echoed. Our revolution is not just for Iran, it is for all the oppressed of the world. That message inspired many, but also alarmed others. Neighboring countries began to tighten control, fearing that similar uprisings could happen within their borders. In Lebanon, a new group called Hezbollah emerged, inspired and supported by Iran. Across the Arab world, people started to speak more openly about injustice, corruption, and faith. Meanwhile, in the West, Iran became a symbol of both mystery and defiance. Diplomatic relations were cut, sanctions were imposed, and a wall of misunderstanding grew between Iran and the world. Inside the country, life changed too. There were new rules, new dress codes, new schools, and a new sense of pride mixed with fear. Women wore hijabs by law, but many also entered universities in record numbers. The youth grew up hearing about martyrs, sacrifices, and the dream of independence. Over the years, Iran faced ups and downs, economic struggles, political divides, and waves of hope followed by frustration. But the revolution remained a living memory, a story of transformation. Even today, decades later, its echoes can still be heard in the Middle East. In every protest, in every chant for justice, there's a faint reminder of 1979, of a nation that dared to rewrite its destiny. The Iranian Revolution was not just about the fall of a king. It was about people, ordinary men and women, who believed that their voices mattered. It reshaped Iran. It reshaped the region. And it reminded the world that history is never written by power alone, but by those who refuse to stay silent. From the rise of empires to the fall of kings, our world is built on stories like this one. If you'd like to keep exploring them with us, click subscribe and stay tuned for the next chapter of history.